Okay, let's do this. Let's holy cross this. I'm after let's
Let's
go, Jesus.
make it a verb. Holy
Um
cross this thing. Welcome to the Greens and Blues 14er podcast. This episode, Zach describes a tedious tour de Holy Cross. I experienced the beautiful side of a lot of somewheres, and we walk through our adventures on Mount of the Holy Cross Ridge, and Halo Ridge. Professor Simpson, how you doing?
Oh, Eric, it is the holiday season. I am feeling good. The room next door to me, my wife and daughter are putting up the Christmas tree. There's
Awesome.
little George Michael Last Christmas playing over
Oh
the.
man, do you play the game where like everyone in your friend circle has to try and avoid that song, and then whoever avoids it the longest wins?
No,
You're not
that
familiar with this game?
I am not. That
Yeah.
sounds. I love that song. I'm not a big like Christmas song guy, but I really dig George Michael. I
You
dig
like that one?
the harmony in there and everything. I really like that song.
Okay.
Why would
I
you
won't,
avoid that? I don't
I,
know.
I won't share my opinion of that song then, I guess.
Oh, I gave you my heart, Eric, and you tear it apart.
I
Look at
gave it
this.
away. Yep.
Oh, yeah, I just gave it away, and look at what you did to it. So yeah, it is the
Uh,
holiday season. It's nice. It's finally cold enough in Oklahoma to kill the allergies out of the air.
oh
I
gosh.
feel good.
Oh man.
How about yourself, Eric? How do you feel today?
We're doing great. Holidays are in full swing here. The tree is up, lights are on. I have a friend. He's going to be around his family some during the holidays, but he's going to be gone for some of it too. So I got to give a shout out to my buddy Nathan. So, for a little context, he has summited Everest, Denali, Kilimanjaro, and Elbrus. And so he's going to be gone on a trip. You can probably telegraph some of what he's going to be doing. So he's going to South America to
Yep.
tackle Aconcagua,
And then
and
Antarctica.
and he's going to go to Antarctica after that and tackle Vincent. So he's hoping to come back in, I think, early to mid-January with six of the seven summits, and he would just have the walk up Kosciuszko, I think is how it's pronounced in Australia, and then he would have the seven summits. So
Whoa.
pretty impressive. So I'm praying for him that he has a fun time, he has a safe time, and that he can add a couple continental high peaks to his list.
How do you know this person, Eric?
So actually, his wife and my wife work together. So through that, we've met several times, and he learned that I'm into Colorado mountains, and I've learned that he's into all sorts of different mountains all over the globe.
Yeah.
So we've talked quite a bit about it. So he's a great guy. So Nathan, I love you, man. I hope you have a fun time and come back safe.
And then when you come back, you're going on the podcast. So
Yeah, we'll,
just so you know.
we'll love to chat with you, whether you've done Kosciuszko yet or not. We'll see.
Yeah. Wow. We talk on this podcast about Colorado mountains. Sometimes
hmm
we'll throw in our adventures to New Mexico and
hmm
Utah and whatnot. But the Alps, the Andes, and the Himalaya, Brooks Range in Alaska, those are a whole different ball game right there. That
That's
is
intensity.
what we do is hiking and
Yes.
and sometimes just really very fit walking. What they do is wow.
That's a whole nother level
Shout out to anyone that does that kind of thing. That's
for
cool.
sure.
Good
Yep.
for him. It's holiday season. What are we talking about on the podcast today, Eric?
Oh gosh, what are we talking about? We are going to talk about an adventure that you and I took this past summer where we tackled, this is going to take a while to summarize. So we tackled Mount of the Holy Cross, we tackled a nearby Centennial 13er Holy Cross Ridge, and we tackled Halo Ridge going back to the trailhead. So we did all of that in one day.
Holy Cross for a holy season is
That's True.
Yeah, look at what we did there. We've been sitting on this podcast for about 4 months here, just
Been,
waiting to release it around Christmas.
been
So,
hoping to use this one for right now.
yeah. Although my wife did accurately point out we should probably be doing this near Easter, given the cross reference.
Hmm.
But kind of like Ricky Bobby, I like newborn infant baby Jesus.
We got Ricky Bobby into this.
If you ain't first, you're last. So yeah, that's why we're doing a Christmas edition of Holy Cross, not an Easter edition of Holy Cross.
Maybe we'll re-release this on Easter and we'll do more of the non-baby Jesus where we're not thanking him for the bountiful feast of Taco Bell, KFC, Pizza Hut for Christmas dinner
I've
or
been
whatever
cooking
that
this for
was.
hours. Yeah, so Eric and I did Holy Cross Ridge, and Halo Ridge this past August, and we're going to talk about the whole thing here. There's a reason we did it in August. For those of you that are interested, Holy Cross in itself is quite the hike, but if you throw in all of Holy Cross Ridge, it is long. I would say tedious is probably the word to use for sections. And so the first thing to know up front is you need to A, be pretty fit,
Hmm.
and B, have a bluebird weather window if you want to do Halo Ridge, because you're going to be up there for a while. So unless
Yeah.
you're a trail runner or something, then we saw some of those people. If you're more like me and Eric, you're going to need a crystal clear weather forecast.
For sure. To kind of kick into this, that's one of the things that I think was kind of cool about this route is there's a lot of options to it. Like you said, Halo Ridge, Holy Cross Ridge, Mount of the Holy Cross, any of those just by themselves would constitute quite an exercise-filled day. So if you've got the juice for it and you've got the weather for it and can add all those things together, you've got quite an adventure going. Or you can just kind of piecemeal it if you need to and tackle individual sections of it. I thought that was pretty cool. And I also thought to try and tackle a 14er and a Centennial in the same day, I don't think there's a whole lot of options in Colorado to be able to do those two things in the same day. There's a few options, but most of them are probably going to be more difficult than what this is. So I think if you add all that together, you're looking for a pretty fun day in the mountains if you're up for it. And like you said, if the weather cooperates. So what attracted you to it, Zach?
What attracted me to it was I like near the end of the summer to do a couple big days. This was an opportunity to get three ranked and one unranked peak in a day. Probably should have thrown in a fourth, which would be Notch Mountain. We didn't do
Notch, yeah.
that. I'm kind of regretting orphaning that, but I love doing a big long hike like this. And now having done it, oh boy, what a glorious scenic tour this is. As Jerry Roach would call it, a tour de abyss.
That's right.
This is really, to my mind, one of the premier loops in Colorado where you can bag a lot of stuff and just kind of march in a circle around a bowl of tears and see this really a spectacular summit surrounded by spectacular cliffs and peaks in a spectacular wilderness area. Hot dog, I think it's really hard to beat Holy Cross and Holy Cross Ridge and Halo Ridge, the whole ball of wax. That is, in my opinion, one of the finest hiking loops in Colorado that you can do in a day. So,
I think you just summarized everything I was going to say about this, Zach. So I'm just going to sit back and let you talk the whole rest of the time because I have nothing more to add to what you just said.
all right, well, we'll all bring you in when you're needed here.
Color commentary once in a while.
So, all right, Eric, if people are thinking about this, it's Christmas time, it's getting a little cold out. They're starting to fantasize about maybe a summer hike. Let's get down to brass tacks. First things first, how do you get there?
So how you get there, you're going to want access to US 24 because that's going to be your main way to get there. Whether you go from the north from I-70 or from the south through, say, Buena Vista and Leadville. I didn't realize this about US 24. The eastern terminus of that is in Michigan. The western terminus is what I just said. It's intersection with I-70. So
Holy
take,
smokes, I didn't know that.
yeah, isn't that kind of cool?
That's really cool.
Once you get onto 24, you make your way through the town of Minturn if you're coming from the north. Turn to the west onto Tigawan Road. So this is not my first rodeo on Tigawan Road. I've
No, we've talked about this before.
when you and I did it this past summer, that was my third time on that road. And the first time, I think I did it in early June with Travis, and it was closed. So yeah, listener beware. If you go too early in the season, there might be some snow on the road, and the gate will probably be closed. So just don't do it. You'll go, I think it's about 7 miles up the Tigawan Road from the junction with 24 all the way to the trailhead. Zach, what were your thoughts on the condition of the road and what kind of cars can get up there?
For the sake of knowledge for everybody listening, Eric drives a Subaru Forester. I have a RAV4 Prime, so both kind of all-wheel drive crossover SUVs. I had one spot that was kind of like you had to go slow that I think would make it impassable to a passenger car. But in terms of subiability, it's totally subiable. Could get up there with an Outback or a Forester, no problem. If you went really, really slow, you could probably go over it in something that you don't mind scraping up a little bit on the bottom, an old Toyota Camry or something like that. But for the most part, I think you're going to need something crossover-esque with a little bit of all-wheel drive. We drove on it after a rainstorm, and it was a little sloppy
Yeah,
and a little slippy.
and a little
So,
muddy. Yeah,
a little muddy. So beware of that. There is a kind of sandstone there that gets a little gummy when it's wet. For the most part, you could get up there pretty easily in SUV type car. It's a little long, kind of
hmm
like everything we're about to talk about. A little tedious.
it's a little tedious. Yeah.
At one point, you do pass, it looks like a summer camp or something
hmm
like that. And if people are looking for camping or staying overnight, once you pass that, there will be a fair number of spots along the road. So there's two kinds of camping that you can expect along this road. There is kind of, for lack of a better word, open camping, Forest Service style, where you just find a spot. There's turnoffs that have been kind of bladed in here and there off the road. And then there actually is an official U.S. Forest Service campground at the end of the road.
Yep.
Now, that only has, as I recall, about 7 or 8 spots. So if you want to do that, if it's a busy weekend, you're going to want to get there pretty darn early. We did get there early, and we were lucky to do so because it did eventually fill up.
Yep.
But if we hadn't had that, we could have gotten something, I think, a little further back down the road. But if you want to walk out of your campsite onto the trailhead, then you're going to have to go to that U.S. Forest Service campground. So that's kind of how the road unfolds. There's not many other places like lower down to camp, and I wouldn't advise that because you're going to want to get as close as you can. So,
For sure. You'd have a long hike if you had to go down the road. So,
as you well know.
as I've experienced before, yeah. So, and the campground's nice. The spots are really nice. Fire pits. There's a pit john in there. I think our campsite happened to be right next to it, so that was convenient. Nice way to go.
Shout out to whoever the Forest Service employees are that keep those bathrooms there. I don't know how pertinent this is. Probably the nicest Forest Service campground bathroom I've ever been in.
These bathrooms are really nice. They're like
There
well
and
maintained.
there and Half Peak were like
Oh,
impeccable,
super
like
clean. Yeah.
clean. They even smelled kind of nice. I don't know what juju we were working with this summer, but man, we nailed the pit toilets this summer.
Oh, for sure.
It was good.
Is there anything about the campsite or otherwise that we want to talk about before we get into the actual hike?
The only thing I would say is that it's a 14er. It's going to be crowded.
Mm,
Holy Cross in particular seems to draw a fair number of people to it, given its proximity to Denver. And it's just far enough that most people want to camp. So again, I'll reiterate, if you want to camp, you probably should get there kind of early. Because when we came back in the afternoon, there were a lot of cars strung along that road. Parking fills up pretty quickly along the road there.
it's a good call.
Other than that, once you're at the trailhead, you're good to go. So I think we should kind of get people along their way here.
Get to the trailhead. How would you describe the hike basically from the trailhead to, let's say, Half Moon Pass and then beyond, Zach?
Well, so that brings up an interesting conundrum for our listeners here. Eric and I had intended all along. Eric had already done Holy Cross, so the only way I could entice him to do this thing is if I threw in a Centennial and then maybe another 13er or two there to kind of sucker them into coming with me on this journey.
You did a good
So
job.
yeah, it's a real sales pitch, eh? So if your intent is to do Halo Ridge, you face a decision immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And that is you can either go, so what Eric and I did is we summited Holy Cross first. We gained all our altitude at the beginning, and then basically from thereafter we were effectively kind of doing a descent. That means we would have been going around the Bowl of Tears in a counterclockwise fashion. So the loop would have been done counterclockwise. We encountered other people that were doing it clockwise, that
Mm-hmm.
went to the Notch Mountain Shelter and then went around Halo Ridge, going kind of south and then west and then north. Honestly, I think it's probably six of one, half dozen of the other. I guess I should say my preference is for the way we did it,
I agree.
because the way we did it, I think you're guaranteeing a 14er summit and maybe the Centennial summit if you run into weather or anything, and you're saving the descent off the peak until you're later, so you're doing the hardest stuff with the freshest legs.
For sure.
That's an
I
argument for the way we did it.
I've read multiple sources that describe it going, like you said, Zach, opposite of how we did it. The .com's description describes it like that, and they actually make it an out and back. They don't even make it a loop. The thing that's, I think, a major positive for how we did it is Holy Cross is well known for having to regain about 1,000 feet at the end,
Yep.
going back up Half Moon Pass. And the way that we did it, you avoid that. You completely avoid that. Like you said, Zach, you're effectively going down. I mean, you have to reascend a few of the 13ers on the way if you want to, but otherwise, you're going down the entire rest of the way. You avoid that regain. And so when Travis and I did it, we had that regain, and I thought it was work, but I thought it was maybe I was just prepared for it. I didn't think it was quite as bad as has been written about, but I know a lot of people really hate that regain. So if you want to avoid it, the way that we did this route avoids it, and I think that's a real plus.
Especially if you've just done all of Halo Ridge, that
Yeah.
regain. So if you've done effectively, at that point you would have done about 10 or 12 miles,
Hmm.
and then you have to descend off of Holy Cross and then come back up 1,000 feet to Half Moon Pass. The thought of that kind of felt deflating to me, and so I was like, okay, we're not doing that. We're gonna gain it all in the beginning. The way we did it, you go up to Half Moon Pass to start with. It's a pretty steady ascent.
Hmm.
Eric and I were kind of jacked up and gung ho, so we were moving pretty well. Then, so you get to Half Moon Pass, which is a beautiful pass, and we kind of saw the sunrise over Half Moon Pass. That was great. And then you drop, like we said, probably about 800 feet or so, and you drop down into a drainage there, and then you have to cross a couple streams, and there's some nice backpacking spots there that people can camp at. And then you have to regain that 800 or so feet going up Holy Cross, but had you gone the other way, you would have had to obviously regain close to 1,000 feet to do that. So
Yep.
that would have been hard. I like the way we did it. I think the way we did it allowed us to kind of get full view of Holy Cross at the very end of the day too, which was
Oh
pretty
yeah.
cool. We'll just talk about it the way we did it. I think that hike up to Half Moon Pass wasn't that bad. That was fairly easy. The descent down into the basin below there is really beautiful.
Hmm.
That's really nice. There is some social trailing that you have to be aware of, like at the bottom of that when you come down off the pass. There's a few little weird side trails there that people have carved in, and we saw a couple people kind of wandering about there, not quite knowing what they were doing. The hard part to me was, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, the ascent up Holy Cross from there. There's a point where you kind of pop out of the trees, and once you pop out of the trees, it's like, this is steep.
It gets a lot steeper, and you have to take a few more breaks, I think, than maybe we're anticipating having to take.
I felt like it was the end of the summer. I felt like we were in pretty rockin' shape, and going up, we were like, whoo! we, were, we had our hands on our knees quite a bit on that. Or was that just me, Eric? Were you feeling it too, or what?
No, no, I was feeling it too. And what was funny was we had stopped at my favorite Blue Moon Bakery the day before. You had a frosted carrot cake that you were kind of munching on the whole time. I thought that you would have a little more hitch in your giddy up, and we both were just sucking wind the whole time. I'm like, man, this is This is harder than I remember the first time we did
I was running off oatmeal and protein powder at that point. The carrot cake is what fueled the rest of the day.
it.
But shout out to Blue Moon Bakery there. That was just, it didn't take forever, but dang, it was for a 14er, not technical at all. I would consider it class one, but just with the treadmill set at like 40%. It was pretty steep. I mean, steps are cut into it. You'll feel the altitude there because you're gaining a lot of altitude in a very short period of time.
For sure.
I think that to me was the most aerobically difficult part of going the way that we went.
For
And
sure.
it kind of sustains that up until about a quarter mile from the top. And at about a quarter mile from the top, it kind of relents just a bit. Or maybe I just got summit fever and I was able to just move faster. But
I think we saw a few dogs and we're like, oh, can I add some of my pack to your weight, puppy dog, and you can haul my trail mix all the way up? But no, it was fun to see. At that point, I think we were seeing more people kind of bunched up on the trail. And
yeah,
so it was encouraging to see a few more crowds, a few pups. That was, I think, helpful for our morale.
yeah, morale was an issue. I gotta say, we were getting passed a little bit by some young bucks going up. But then at that
Ran
point,
over a few times too by
yeah,
some
yeah,
trail
a
runners.
couple trail runners who left the etiquette at the trailhead apparently. But yeah, there was a couple moments where I was like, I feel like I'm doing all right here. But then we caught them near the end, so we did a little tortoise and hare experiment there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the slowest going of it. It's funny. At that point, you've basically gone up a 14er. It's a short 14er. It's like, what, 14,005 feet?
It's
Or
barely a 14er, yeah.
barely a 14er, but it's a slog. But all along, you have just amazing views. I will say, the views of the Holy Cross Couloir that are quite famous, you do not get them if you go the standard route. You have to do the Halo Ridge route to see them.
Yep.
So you're going to see really cool rock features. It's quite steep. Holy Cross kind of looks like a pinnacle from where you're coming up. That's awesome. You're greeted with all those views. That's what kind of gives it a lot of drama and makes it really, really pretty. But at that point, yeah, you're kind of just hoofing it up to the top of the mountain. So, Eric, what were your thoughts when we finally made it to the top?
I thought somewhere along the way we realized that this was a hike that we did on a Sunday. So we were kind of doing this Sabbath
Yeah.
adventure on top of the Mount of the Holy Cross. And so I think at the top, you're able to see the Notch Mountain Shelter from that point. You're able to see Mount Jackson to the west, a kind of a
Hmm.
prominent 13er there, and Holy Cross Ridge to your south. So you do have all these beautiful views around. On a weekend in the summer, it's a 14er. There's going to be quite a few people. That was pretty cool, I thought, to just experience all of that all in one setting and kind of realize all that at the same time. So that steep part, closer to the end, a little taxing. I think we were playing leapfrog with a family kind of along the way, and they'd get ahead of us, and then we get ahead of them, and so eventually we're like, what are we doing here? But once you get to the end, it makes it all worth it. It was a fun 14er to get to the top of.
Yeah, and it did not take us long. I
Hmm.
think from trailhead to summit was maybe 2.5, 3 hours for
Was it
us.
that short? Okay.
Yeah, it did not take us super long to do that. So just for reference, Eric and I are kind of moderate speed hikers. So
Hmm.
if you guys are just doing Holy Cross, I think you can bang it out 3 to 4 hours pretty simply. And then you're treated to great views at the top. So Holy Cross on its own, great peak, totally worth it. So as we've said, after that point, we weren't just stopping at Holy Cross. We were going to keep on going. So Eric, from there, what happens?
Well, like you said, Zach, if you've got the energy and if you've got a good weather window, you can continue south from Mount of the Holy Cross and head towards Holy Cross Ridge. So Holy Cross Ridge is about 13,850, give or take. So it is a Centennial. The Coonies actually attacked Holy Cross Ridge from the south by going along truly the Holy Cross Ridge, not
Yeah.
just the named 13er. In doing that, you add on another unnamed 13er.
Yeah.
They called that hike one of the most tedious they've ever done, and that's saying a lot coming from the Coonies who
Yeah.
have hiked a lot. So, but thankfully, if you're going the way that we're describing, you avoid that part completely. You just kind of go through this kind of grandiose talus slog going down Holy Cross and then to the saddle and back up Holy Cross Ridge. I remember that being kind of continuing with the tedious theme. It took a while, or at least it felt like it took a while, and you kind of pounding your feet on these rocks, and it was more work than I was anticipating. And maybe I was just unprepared, but I don't know. What were your thoughts on getting from Holy Cross to the ridge?
I think you said the right stuff, which is twofold. One, you need to practice some real discernment at Holy Cross in terms of two things: how you feel. If you're going to go that way, you're committing yourself to Halo Ridge. It doesn't look bad, and it's not technically bad. It's just long and
It's
tedious.
long.
And you are exposed for a very, very, very long time. There
Yep.
are a couple places where you can drop off if you have to. If you want to make it to the Notch Mountain Shelter, you are looking at a good 4 to 5 hours more from that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't feel like it when you get to Holy Cross because you've just been on a trail the whole time. You are about to leave the land of trails. You're about to go up and over Holy Cross Ridge, and that descent off Holy Cross is a kind of sampler for what lies ahead. It's just a lot of talus, a lot of big boulder hopping.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to know whether or not you got enough weather, window, and wherewithal to do it. If you have all that, boy, is it fun. That descent off Holy Cross, tedious, totally. The ascent up Holy Cross Ridge, tedious. I don't recall getting too tired or winded going up it because you're finding a lot of you're kind of having to do a fair amount of thinking and rock hopping,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that in and of itself was actually pretty fun, as I recall. I remember the feeling of being on Holy Cross Ridge as pretty giddy. For my money, that was the best view of the day.
Oh, it was spectacular.
Yeah, top 10 view from a Centennial in Colorado. I know there's some in the San Juans that are totally going to compete with that, but man, the view from Holy Cross Ridge was out of sight. That was
Mm-hmm.
great. The views looking back towards Holy Cross were really cool. Just 30 minutes or an hour before, we were on top of Holy Cross and there were like 60 people around us. And then we made it to Holy Cross Ridge, and we had kind of ganged up with a family, or it was kind of like a family and some friends and so forth. There were four of them, and it was just the six of us, and
Mm-hmm.
we had the summit absolutely to ourselves. It was really beautiful, totally worth it. And again, at that point, if you want to, you can go back home.
Just go back if you want. Yeah.
You can go back the way you came. Like you can go either back the way you came, or you can cut below Holy Cross, which I think is a route that Roach recommends. You can cut off Holy Cross altitude if you want to. We saw a couple people doing that. So, your thoughts on Holy Cross Ridge and beyond, Eric?
Yeah, I agree, and we'll get to this when I get to my song. But the views in the whole area were amazing, but especially from Holy Cross Ridge, like you said, Zach. I mean, you're looking across into the Bowl of Tears if you want. You're looking all the way across. There's some really dramatic cliffs kind
Mm-hmm.
of near the Notch Mountain Shelter, which you can still see from that vantage point. You're looking at Halo Ridge and just all the cliffs going down there. I think you might be able to see Tahari Lakes, which are just south of Halo Ridge.
Yep.
I think you can see all of that from Holy Cross Ridge. So you have a really nice perch kind of all around, and just everything around is amazing. I agree with you. I think that the views along that entire route rival anything else in the Sawatch, and it's just a beautiful area. And yeah, Holy Cross Ridge is a great place to take it all in.
I really loved that area, and I loved from there to the shelter, I thought was just absolute, like perfect scenery.
It was really
Maybe,
interesting.
maybe I was getting mountain high, but I thought the descent off Holy Cross Ridge on the tedium scale was not quite a 10. The true tediousness came in after the unranked peak that we're about to go up here. But it was tedious getting off Holy Cross Ridge. But then you kind of, at a certain point, once you descend off that, and you're just going to have to pick your route. There's
Hmm.
big, chunky, chonky boulders and talus. The footing is actually secure. It's not that
Hmm.
bad.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of route finding. Once you get down off that, there's this weird spot that you get to that's kind of flat. It's for about a half mile where it's you're just kind of walking across a flat plain at about 13.2. I thought that was one of the coolest
That was kind of
places.
cool. It
I
was.
and then you're kind of looking back on Holy Cross Ridge and Holy Cross, You can see Notch Mountain. You can see kind of the cliffs of Halo Ridge all below you, and you're looking kind of to the south into the Sawatch. That section from Holy Cross Ridge down there was just spectacular.
It was neat.
It kept me distracted from all the footwork I was having to do. Like, and people coming up were kind of complaining. They're like, "This is tedious." And I remember thinking, you guys are just a couple negative Nancys. And then I realized, no, they're right. But it didn't matter because, dang, what else are you gonna do with your life? That's about as good as it gets. So you're essentially going from Holy Cross Ridge at that point to like a little unranked bump, as Jerry Roach would call it. Just kind of as you go along there. Any thoughts on that section?
Yeah, I agree that that little flat section was really cool because it was a little bit of a reprieve too from all of the boulder hopping and all the talus and all the route finding. You bit more of a clear route on where you were going to go, and the footing was a little easier to tackle on too. So yeah, and still just you're looking at all this beautiful scenery around you. You still have a great vantage point of everything that's around. A little different angle on Mount Holy Cross from that
Yeah.
spot. So
Still can't see the cross, by the
still
way.
can't see the cross. No, you got a ways to go. You got to go keep going east, and then eventually you're going to curve to the north in order to see the couloir. But yeah, that vantage point was really cool.
If you're following along in your head as you're listening to this, imagine you're going along a horseshoe, and the
Hmm.
horseshoe is like the Indianapolis Colt symbol. It's a horseshoe facing up. At the top left of that horseshoe is Holy Cross, and then at the bottom left of that is Holy Cross Ridge. And so now we're on the section where kind of at the bottom of the horseshoe, kind of right where it bows, kind of right where it starts to turn north, you run into an unranked, unnamed 13er there. Going up that was a piece of cake.
Pretty uneventful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of just walked right up it. Like at that point, if you can do Holy Cross and Holy Cross Ridge, I guarantee you can do that one. It was the going down that one that was by far the most tedious part of the day. I don't know if I was kind of, my patience was wearing thin, but at that point, I think the boulder hopping kind of, that's probably the steepest section to descend to. So you come off that unnamed, unranked 13er and you're descending off that. It's not just talus and boulder, there's some scree in there, and there's some places where the footing is really poor. That requires quite a bit of caution and care. It's not technically demanding, like you don't need your hands. Although I think we did butt scoot a fair number of times on that. But that's where you're going to spend more time than you think just to get off that. So at
Yeah.
this point, you're maybe 2 or 3 hours off of Holy Cross. I'm afraid you're going to be there for a little while longer. I did not expect that. None of the guidebooks had talked about how tedious that was, but whoop-dee, that was pretty tedious.
Well, and as you always do, Zach, you were leading the way, and we eventually got to a point. There was this cut into the rock that you have to go around.
Yeah.
So not only are you going down rough footing, bit on the tired side, you've been hiking a lot, but you can't just go straight east like you would want to. You have to kind of go southeast because you got to go around this giant crevice in the rock. You're going to encounter this cliff on the way. So I think you add all that in, and that part definitely was high on the tedium scale because it just wasn't fun. And like you said, it was unexpected. We didn't know that was going
Yeah.
to be right in front of us. So we just had to go around it.
If your instinct is like mine, you want to stay kind of ridge proper on all these things and just stay as
Hmm.
high as you can, as long as you can. And so I was trying to do that. In this case, you can't quite do that. It's a
Yeah.
spectacular rock face.
Looks cool.
Looks cool. I got some really cool pictures of it. Like when you look at it, it's like, wow, did I just come off that? Well, I didn't come off that. I would have had to have rappelled off that. But
Yeah.
that's where it's kind of peak tedium, I would argue.
Yeah.
And then you've got another traverse from there over to an unnamed but ranked 13er. And that actually takes a little bit longer. There's a section of that where it goes kind of quick, gets kind of grassy for a half minute. But that actually took longer than I thought it would too. And at this point, the day was kind of getting long in the tooth. I think we summited Holy Cross maybe about 9:30, 10ish. At this point, it's probably 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Oh yeah. It's early afternoon by this point.
Yeah, and my carrot cake stores were dwindling. My rocket fuel was slowly being depleted here. that will take longer than you think it does too.
Hmm.
But then when you kind of work your way up that bump, that's kind of pick your own poison there too. You can stay ridge proper, you can drop to the left or to the right. It doesn't really matter. I think you went to the left and I went to the right, Eric, and we ended up at the same place at about the
So,
same
yeah.
time. Eventually, you'll get to a point to where when you summit that, you're almost to the point where you could see the infamous Holy Cross at that point, which is
Yep.
pretty neat. To me, once I got there, I was like, okay, we've done 3 ranked peaks today, 1 unranked. I felt pretty good at that point. How were you feeling around then?
Yep. We had accomplished a lot and was feeling kind of good. If there was like a runner's high or a second wind, that might have been about where it kicked in.
Once you get to that last peak, you still have a little bit more tedium left.
Hmm.
I remember thinking, and this is not the thought you should have when you're hiking, and I know this, Zach, don't do this. I remember thinking, okay, we're done with the boulder stuff now. Wrong.
There was one more bump we had to go around or over.
Yeah, and at that point, so we had kind of reached the last high point of the day at that last kind of ranked summit. But getting off that was still bouldery. And you can kind of at that point you could see the Notch Mountain Shelter, which is this
Hmm.
cool little hut that's there. I remember thinking, man, that's so easy to get there, and yet it still took a little while to
Took a
get
while to
there.
get there.
So at that point, once you get within about a couple hundred yards of the shelter, it kind of opens up, it clears out, it's not as bouldery, and you can breathe. Like the day is done. It's not done. You got to get home, and you're still above timberline. But I remember kind of being like, "Whoo!" Now, for those of you that are a little bit more fit and a little smarter than Eric and I heartily endorse at that point going and just tagging Notch Mountain as well.
You're really close at that point, but
And man, that would make the classic Roach Tour Day Abyss there. The 4 ranked peaks, 1 unranked in a day. We should have done it, Eric, but we didn't. And I don't think either of us were arguing really heavily for it at the time. We were like, no, we're going home.
I think
We're,
we're set. Yeah.
we're out of here. So yeah, once you reach the shelter, then you can really see the Holy Cross officially. That's really cool. What a spectacular thing to look back on. It was kind of mid-afternoon. It was really beautiful.
Hmm.
Just the whole thing's just gorgeous, but really pretty view from the shelter there. And you can actually step inside the shelter and chill out for a minute. We didn't want to sit too long because we knew we'd probably get sore, but wow, at that point, I think you've done something right.
Oh, for sure. And you're rewarded with the cross couloir, like you mentioned. And when we did it, there was no snow. Even without snow, you could see it, and it's pretty spectacular. I think there's a good reason why a lot of people try to seek it out as a bucket list item. So it was really cool.
Totally. So yeah, at that point, if you've gone the way we went, you've accomplished something, and then it's literally all downhill from there.
Yep.
It's kind of all over but the shouting at that point. You just have the
Yeah.
descent from the Notch Mountain Shelter. There, it kind of zigzags down a hill on a bunch of switchbacks, and then you traverse, and then you just kind of rejoin the Half Moon Trailhead from there. There's not a lot to say about that section. It's a really nice section of trail. It's easy trail. It's all class one. There's a couple places to camp there if you're going the other way around and you want to camp. Did see a couple of places where people had backpacked in. I didn't see much water. That
No.
would have been a real difficulty. But I don't know, your thoughts on, were we thinking at that point, Eric? What was going on in our heads?
I think I was thankful for a trail because at that point I didn't want to think. I just wanted to
Yeah.
move my feet as little as I had to. Going through a pretty forest at that point once you're down below tree line, and before you know it, you're back at Half Moon Trailhead / campground and ready to head home after a long day.
I remember getting to the car and being like, man, we did something today. Like that was a full flipping day right there. I can hardly think of a better hike in terms of a loop out of the whatever that is. I think it's probably about 15
About
miles.
15 miles, give or take. Yep.
And then probably what about 6,000 feet of elevation gain and loss in the
Yeah,
day.
you're gaining a mile.
It's a workout. That's a real day right there. Given the amount of footwork you have to do, you and I have done like a 15-mile loop in the Sangres where we did an out and back, like 8 miles in, 8 miles back, and not nearly as tired as we felt after this one. So this one took it out of us a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Eric, on Holy Cross and Holy Cross Ridge and the Halo Ridge?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that the route that we took isn't more documented. It's, yeah, either doing Halo Ridge from the east side, going clockwise like you described earlier, or it's going the standard route up Holy Cross and then maybe Holy Cross Ridge, but then going back, not touching
Hmm.
Halo Ridge. The .com lists it as 2+. I think it's because it's so tedious and so
Yeah.
long. You're above tree line for most of the time, and your commitment level is very, very high, and the amount of energy you need to do it is very high. So I'm a little surprised that more people haven't attempted or at least talked about the way that we described, because I think it's such a pretty and such a worthwhile way to just wander around that whole wilderness area.
To me, again, one of the great loops in Colorado hiking. I'm going to have a hot take here. I don't know why you would do it another way than the way we did it. Like, to me, the way we did it seems the best way. It seems the most logical to me. That being said, we were clearly in the minority that day.
Yeah,
There were
we had
probably
to drag another family with us almost.
yeah, and we near killed one of them. So, like, you better be in shape. The kid that we near killed was like 20 something. So this, you got to be in shape regardless of how old you are. But we probably saw about 20 people doing the loop that day, and we were the only ones doing it the direction we did it.
Yep.
Everyone else was doing it the opposite way, and I'm not sure what the argument is for that.
I don't know why.
If you're listening to this, be among the cool kids and do it counterclockwise, which is the right way to do this now. So, Eric, once you've finished off this hike, you're famished, you need food and sustenance. Where should you eat? This was a true conundrum for us, and it's one that ended, I think, somewhat pathetically.
It, so you've talked about a place in Leadville before, Zach. What was the name of it? It was a pizza place,
It's like
wasn't
High
it?
Mountain Pies or something like
Okay,
that,
that's
right?
it. What you should do is probably go to that place. What we did was we drove back to Silverthorne and we visited the Bluebird Cafe there. So my family and I have gone there a handful of times. It's a nice atmosphere. I mean, it's basically a food court. There's restaurants you can kind of pick from. But in my humble opinion, the only restaurant there that's worth going to is the Mexican restaurant, which I think is called Chimayo. Everywhere else, in my opinion, is either overpriced or it's bland and just wasn't worth going to. And the reason we didn't go to Chimayo is because there was a long line for it. I think that's probably a telling sign. So I went to an Asian place. What I ended up having to get to save a few bucks was really, really plain and really bland. It worked because I was really hungry at that point, but it just wasn't great. You got fried chicken, didn't you, at one of the places there?
Yeah, and look, I'm not a snob about my fried chicken, but
You are now.
whatever the fried chicken place was in that food court sucked. I'm
Oh,
just going to throw that out there. It was a fair quantity of food. I could wash it down with Dr. Pepper, which I kind of needed at that point. But yeah, I think Chipotle would have been better, to be
oh,
quite
hmm.
frank. There's a number of good places to eat in Summit County. Dylan Dam Brewery. There's a fair number of places. We should have gone to those. Sorry, Bluebird Cafe. You're getting the thumbs down from the Greens and Blues podcast today. That was a big negative ghostwriter on that one. I can't speak for anything in Vale because I'm not independently wealthy. So I'm sure there's good food there. But yeah, we went on to Summit. There's a lot of good food in Summit. Just can't be found at the Bluebird Cafe, except for the Mexican place, apparently.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my food recommendation is Eric has mentioned this once before. When we came into camp the night before going on this hike, Eric had brought a dehydrated meal. I just happened to have a 1.5 pound ribeye steak in my cooler. We cooked up Eric's dehydrated meal with like rice and beans and stuff. I cooked a ribeye steak over my stove. And then I had a little bit of that carrot cake. Eric had a little bit of, I think you had like, what did you have? Like a Nutty Buddy or something?
I probably had some kind of candy bar or energy
Yeah.
bar.
And between that, easily the best meal you could have. Nothing tastes better than a steak cooked out in the open air like that. That was good.
That ran circles around Bluebird Cafe, and we had a fraction of the resources at our disposal to make that steak. That
Yeah.
was super yum.
Yeah, steak, salt, and pepper. I was not making a demi glaze or anything to go on that bad boy. So,
Didn't need it.
yeah, did not need it. That was fantastic. Heartily recommend. Actually, I recommend that everybody rope Eric into doing Holy Cross multiple times. Reach out
I'll
to
go
us,
again.
greens and blues podcast at gmail.com. Hey, Eric, want to do Holy Cross with me? He'll go if you make a mistake.
No, stop it.
He's a cheap date, everybody. So
Uh,
now, Eric, I've been kind of wanting to know. We did this wonderful hike. Man, you're always good at this. What song would you associate with Holy Cross and this holy season?
so my song is actually really easy. It was in my head the whole time. So I was a fan of the Wallflowers, late 90s, early 2000s, lots of songs, kind of alt rock. Bob Dylan's son, Jacob Dylan, is
Yeah.
the leader of the band. For some reason, I lost touch listening to their music in the early 2000s, which stinks because in 2005 they had an album that they released called Rebel Sweetheart, which is where my song comes from. So 20 years later, I'm in a restaurant or a store or something, and this song comes on, and I think, oh, this sounds great. So I Shazam it and I listen to it. A month or two later, you and I are hiking this Holy Cross loop. And so this song is in my head the whole time. It's called The Beautiful Side of Somewhere. And I think there's probably a bunch of lyrics I could try to shoehorn with what we did, but the title actually says it all. No matter where you're on this loop, no matter what vantage point you have, no matter which angle you're coming from, and whichever direction you're looking, you're going to see something beautiful. And we've talked about the San Juans before, and you look all around, and there's all these peaks, and it's just amazing. This is amazing in a different way. There's all sorts of different elements. There's the shelter, there's the Bowl of Tears, there's Tuhari Lakes, there's Mount Jackson, there's the Cross Couloir, there's Halo Ridge itself, there's the cliffs. I can go on and on. Everything about that area is just absolutely beautiful, and there's all sorts of different things to look at. So I think no matter where you are, you're on the beautiful side of somewhere on Halo Ridge and on that whole loop. So I'm gonna go with that song by the Wallflowers.
Love it. Love the Wallflowers. Sixth Avenue Heartache. Just such a song.
It's a classic.
That's a classic. What a groove.
So what's your song for this, Zach?
I wanted to plumb, so I did a bunch of searches through my music for Jesus themes or cross themes. Could not find anything in that vein that I liked. I mean, the obvious pull is Holy Diver by Ronnie James Dio and
Oh, there you
Rainbow,
go.
but come on now, that's a little too close to home. I went just to the left of that. I went to a song called Yahweh by U2
Oh, yes.
on their How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb
Mm-hmm. Closing
album.
song on that one.
Yeah, closing song. And there's a couple lines in that. Still waiting for the dawn. The sun is coming up. I just remember you and I hiking this peak kind of in the sunrise and the sun coming up. And then the last chorus, take this heart, take this heart, take this heart, and make it
Mm-hmm.
break.
Yep.
And it wasn't, obviously, our hike wasn't heartbreaking. It was heart filling. I do feel like there's a little bit of that sense of kind of being broken and opened up to something beautiful that maybe that song is evoking. And I think this kind of broke me down and opened me up too. So all the tedium. I think we have our greatest experiences sometimes when we're at our physical limits.
Mm.
I really felt that. And I mean, I really can see why, other than the Holy Cross, this area gets a lot of divine designation. It's a holy spot. It's a
Mm.
really beautiful place and a lot of beauty and mystery in this area. So I really liked Yahweh by U2 for this.
I love it. And that's, wow, what a great song too. It was never a single. I thought maybe it should have been, but yeah, that's a great pick, Zach. I love it.
Eric, we've taken everybody on a tour de Holy Cross here. Sorry, I keep doing that. Um,
Thanks, Jerry.
any other thoughts about Holy Cross, Halo Ridge, etc.?
I would just reiterate, we talked before about how this is kind of a versatile loop. You can go to certain points and then turn back if you want to, or you can go all the way around. No matter how you tackle it, this is a worthy hike. I mean, I
Yeah.
was anticipating it being long, tedious. I was kind of questioning, okay, is this really going to be worth it? It's 100% worth it. It's so pretty. It's so fun. You get to tackle, again, a 14er, a Centennial, another 13er. It's a wonderful hike and it's worth it. So,
If you haven't done it, tuck this away for a day when you're feeling great and you got a bluebird weather window.
mm,
And this is the one to do. If you look and there's like no rain forecast and you feel like you're up to a big day like this, man, 100% worth the effort. One of the more rewarding hikes in Colorado. So,
totally.
with that, Eric, if during this festive Christmas season, if they want to reach out to us, if they want to send us gifts,
Ooh.
ooh, yeah. If they want to leave a voicemail, how can we be reached?
We can be reached on our Gmail account if you want to send us an evite to an event or a virtual gift card. You can send that to greensandbluespodcast@gmail.com, or you can visit our website, which is greensandbluespodcast.podbean.com, through which you can find our Facebook group and our YouTube channel. You can leave us a voicemail from your computer. Our email address is on there too. You can subscribe to our podcast. And I would humbly ask any of our listeners, if you know of someone that you think might enjoy our podcast, if you wouldn't mind spreading the word, we would greatly appreciate that. So that's all the ways you can get a hold of us, or you can send a real gift, a tangible object to Norman, Oklahoma, and it'll find its way to Zach, and he can share it with me someday. So
The post office is so small here. They're like, oh yeah, Zach Simpson, of course, I know that guy.
I know you by name.
Yeah, Boomer Sooner. Just send it on down the road.
There it is.
Well,
Uh,
Eric, this has been fun.
this
To
has been.
everyone out there, we wish you guys a very Merry Christmas, and we'll be back with an episode hopefully right around the new year.